There was a man who understood this long before psychology had words for it. His name was Søren Kierkegaard, a Danish philosopher from the 19th century. He believed that anxiety is not a flaw. It's what happens when the soul confronts freedom. Real freedom. There is something strange that happens right at the moment when you're about to act, before the word, before the leap into the unknown. You open the door, but you don't enter. Something holds you back, even though the path is clear. A voice inside whispers softly, "Don't rush. Wait. Don't take the risk. You're not ready." You listen and miss the moment. You stand at the threshold of action, and maybe you don't even notice it, but you obey it again and again. And instead of light, you see every possible failure. You're not afraid of the step. You're afraid of what it might begin. Change, choice, responsibility. Things that cannot be undone. Your body tightens, trying to become invisible. The world doesn't stop you, you stop yourself. But where does this fear come from? Who put it inside you? It sounds like your voice. But what if I told you that voice isn't yours? It's not your essence. It calls you to stay, where there is no pain but also no life. And so you freeze. Yet that dizziness is a sign. Anxiety is the dizziness of freedom. Søren Kierkegaard. Today we explore the subtle mechanism of fear, not panic, but the quiet kind. The kind that lives inside decisions. The one that pretends to be logic. The one that speaks in your voice, but not on your behalf. And in the end, we'll talk about how to move forward, not despite the fear, but with it. The fear of action is rarely loud. Most often, it's quiet, rational. It speaks through to-do lists, sudden fatigue, urgent distractions. Your brain is built to protect, not to inspire. And protection means predictability. Action means chaos, change, the unknown. That's why your nervous system resists, not out of malice, but from a kind of primal love. Sometimes the fear of action is a memory of trauma. You once took a step, and something went wrong. Now the mind whispers, "Let's not go through that again." Sometimes it's the fear of imperfection. What if you fail? What if others see? What if you don't live up to your own expectations? And sometimes fear is the only form of control you've ever known. It feels familiar. And to act means to let go. Philosophers knew this before anyone else. Epicurus taught to avoid pain, but not to avoid life. The Buddha said, "Suffering is part of the path." Kierkegaard called anxiety the side effect of freedom. When you can choose, you begin to fear. Fear of making the wrong move. Fear of becoming the cause of your own pain. The fear of action isn't laziness. It's knowing you are responsible. You are the creator. But creation is irreversible. It's like leaping into the fog. No one can tell you what's down there. No one will offer guarantees. And yet, it's exactly there that the real begins. Freedom is always close to anxiety. They come as a pair. You can't take one without the other. And fear? It doesn't point to weakness. It points to depth. You are afraid because it matters. The brain wasn't designed for happiness. It was designed for survival. It looks for danger, even when none exists. It remembers the past and fears its repetition. Maybe once, you made a mistake, and the brain decided, from now on, no more risks. This is how learned helplessness is born. Procrastination isn't laziness, it's armor. You delay because you fear failure. You freeze because the goal feels too important. You dream, but you don't begin. You protect yourself from pain that hasn't even come. But behind this protection, there is no life. There's safety, but no movement. And where there's no movement, there's no growth. And so you stand, whole, alive, but somehow lifeless. And this is not you. It's just a program, but you can step beyond it. Awareness is the first step to freedom. But what if fear is not the enemy, but a compass? The truth is, you don't have to wait for fear to disappear. You can move with it, not against it. Fear shows where expansion begins, where meaning lives. It always points to the edge of your identity, and transformation is born right at that edge. Start small. Let fear be there, and take the first step anyway. Not from tension, not from force, but with gentleness. Try this. Sparkles. Pause. Breathe. Name the fear, not to banish it, but to recognize it. Then ask, if fear is trying to protect me, what is it guarding me from? From that place of inner clarity, choose the smallest possible action, one that shifts your energy, not to prove anything, but simply to say, I'm still moving, because movement is medicine. What if fear isn't the enemy, but a resource? It appears at the threshold of what's real. If you're not afraid, it's probably not the thing. Fear shows where you're growing. It shines a light on the point of transformation. And if you take that step, you are already changed. Even a trembling step is still a step. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's movement in its presence. One breath, one choice, one moment of, even so, I go. The voice of fear won't disappear, but you can speak with it. I see you and I'm going. You take it by the hand and lead. You don't fight it, you guide it. Because you are more than fear. You are the master of this house. The fear that holds you back often reveals who you truly are. The deepest fear lives where your truest self begins. It appears when you're close to meaning. We don't fear what we don't care about. We fear what we deeply long for. We fear what could transform us. We fear what would make us visible. You're afraid to start because it truly matters to you, because your story depends on it. Fear can't tell the difference between pain and growth. It just wants to protect. But you're not a child anymore. You can choose. And here's the paradox. Fear is not just noise. It's a message. It says, here you meet yourself. This is the edge between who you were and who you can become. And the more personal the fear, the more sacred the next step. Fear is not the enemy. It's a messenger. It shows you where you need to be, where you stop playing roles, where you become yourself. And if you dare to enter that cave, inside, you'll find not the end, but a meeting with who you really are. You are at the threshold of becoming. So, don't wait for fear to disappear. If you wait, you might wait forever. Fear doesn't go away. It changes form. It tests your roots. As if it asks, are you ready to meet the part of you that still doubts? Don't push it away. Try to listen. Feel where it lives in your body, in your throat, your chest, your belly. That sensation is not weakness. It's life, ready to move. Try this simple practice. 1. Sit quietly. Place your hand where you feel the fear. 2. Say gently, maybe aloud, I see you, I hear you, but I don't need to freeze. 3. Take one breath, then one step. Small, imperfect, just real. You're not here to be flawless. You're here to become. And the fear of action is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of life. It tells you that something important is at stake. When fear appears, you are at the edge of expansion, and that's not a warning. It's an invitation. Before your next step, whisper to yourself, I am not broken. I am becoming. And even with fear, I move forward. If these words resonate, come back. Here you are understood. Here you are supported. Step by step. Breath by breath. Moment by moment. Next time fear rises before you act, don't just ask, how do I get rid of it? Ask, what if this fear is pointing me toward the most alive version of me? Because often, that's exactly what it's doing. You don't wait for fear to leave. You simply stop listening to it as truth. You begin to hear yourself beneath that voice. There is a different rhythm there. It doesn't demand a perfect step. It simply calls you to move. One step, and you are alive. One gesture, and you are free. You are no longer a prisoner, no longer a doubt. You are breath, movement, freedom. Even with the trembling, you choose the light. You are not broken. You are awakened. You act, not because you're fearless, but because now you know. This is not weakness. This is life, calling you forward. You don't have to be fearless. You only have to be honest and willing to take one small step, even with trembling hands. This is not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming present. And if your path feels uncertain, good. That means you're walking it. We'll be here for the next whisper, the next question, the next step. Until then, stay awake, stay kind, and stay true.